What's up, everybody? I am back and on the attack. Yeah. Anyway, this is my critique video, and this is also some tips for some artists, for all of my other subscribers out there, because the reason why I do a critique video is to show you that we all run into the same problems, and when you're trying to improve, you may see something that you do yourself, because I see things that I still do that I just go back and correct them. And that's what a lot of art is about, is the editing of things and going back and correcting them. So we're just going to take some drawings here and we're going to do a little bit of critiquing. And it's not meant to be mean or anything like that. It's just here to help you improve. So, and as an artist, you have to be able to take constructive criticism, and also you got to be able just to ignore when people are just being angry and haters, because you're going to get it. Yeah. So this first drawing here, I really like this. Um, the only thing that this is so difficult to do. Let me zoom in here a little bit. Okay. I want to zoom in here a little bit to show you. This gives artists so much trouble, is this right here. Because you have a face that you want to draw, but you definitely want to be able to measure things out. This is why I say draw out your simple shapes, right? So if you draw out your simple shapes, then the eyes probably would be, you can see where the eyes are. You can line them up right about here. Okay, this is getting way messier than I need it to be. And what's probably is going to happen is let me change colors. This will be a lot easier if I change colors. But what I was trying to say is that once it's on a line, then you can just put your eyes in, and then the eyes will line up, your nose and your mouth. And so then that's why oh, incidentally, I've signed up to teach an art class on a website called Udemy, Udemy, and it'll be out at the end of the month, because that's what I told them, and so now I just can't go back on it. Uh, and so it'll be a paid class, but I'm gonna take pretty much what I do here, but I get to go into a lot more depth than what I can really do on YouTube, because I'll be able to give you classroom materials and PDF files, and it'll be video, so it definitely will be me talking. But the way that it'll be set up is that you'll have like a lecture, kind of like what I do here, but then I'm going to draw with you guys and give you assignments that you follow along with, and then give you homework. So I can do something with that class, like if I'm teaching you how to make a stick figure, which there will be extensive stick figure training in there, because I think that's where a lot of artists artwork falls apart at as far as anatomy goes. I'll be able to say, okay, now we're going to draw. I say things like draw 50 poses or 20 poses, but you'll be drawing right along with me. So I'm really excited about it. I'll give you more news on that later. Let's get back to the critique here. Everything else on this I like. And another reason why I wanted to so you got the belly button is right about here. The arms might be a little bit longer, but I really like this. I mean, I really do. It's this is not an easy pose to do with the hands on the hips, which it kind of looks like this artist was having a bit of problem with putting the hands there. So it might have been something a little bit more like that. And this is another reason why I stress cylinders, because they really do help out. Got a little shoulder action going here. But other than that, I really do like it. I like the size of the head, the cuteness of it, I guess. Right up in here, I'm kind of curious as to, I think this is obviously a tank top, and I think it's coming over some underwear. Keep in mind when you're drawing stuff like this, where you're drawing like a t-shirt and some underwear, the contour of it is going to be more out this way. instead of folded up. I mean, unless this character has their shirt tucked into their underwear, which is fine. All right, let's go on to the next one. So here are some poses right here. And these are some action poses, obviously based off of some comic book sort of things. And I like comic booky sort of things because, well, that's what I started out looking at and emulating. But let's go ahead and let's look at what's going on here. So the first thing that I notice is that the torso, the chest, is so varied on this, which is fine if you're drawing bigger characters. And there's a little bit of ambiguity right up into the leg area. I know the pose that you're going for. So here's a note to everybody. Before you start doing really elaborate poses like this, get some of the basic poses down first. So right here, I think I drew this head a little bit too big, which is fine. We'll just go back in and correct it. So, and it's a bit more difficult going over someone else's work, but so we got a line going across here, and I could see there's some sort of bend right here, but keep in mind that these two lines should be about equal, but they're not. So in order to correct that, and so what I did was take it from the shoulder. It's planted on the ground somewhere down here. And again, I'm not looking at the original pose from what they got it from. This is your hand. And what I'm doing right here is I'm just kind of measuring. I believe that the chest is, so what I did was make sure that this is about even. This little area right up in here, and it'll make your figures look a lot better. So when you're looking at the chest that's going back, remember, this is round, but it's also, if it helps you to show that it's going back slightly, then go ahead and do this. Go ahead and do this. Or if you want to do it a bit more circular, then keep in mind that just like the head, you're going to put that line down there to show that the figure is going back. And now when you're, depending on how much foreshortening there is, what I like to do is, this is the trunk or the pelvis area. If you're doing a pose like this, first of all, I like to just kind of put it out in a stick figure, right? That's the first thing I want to do with an elaborate pose like this. Then you can come out. I have my I have the thigh coming out this way, and then I got my other cylinder coming down right here. But you see I measured that out first with the stick, and so now I know that the leg is going to be planted on the ground over here. And so what happens is that when you're planting your leg on the ground, usually that cylinder is going to be pointing down. So it's like this, instead of you trying to do this, because then it's going to, because your knee is right here and then your leg is kind of going back there, and you can draw through this. So this is going to get kind of messy and it might be difficult to explain, but this is the kind of stuff that I could explain during my class. And so that way you've drawn through the figure and you can get that going correct. And we of course can put in our shoulders. These are representations of the shoulders, by the way. And so it's kind of the same thing with this. You want to start drawing this out. I like to put that line across there. And there isn't very much distance within these two ovals right here. So this being the chest, And actually, your hips or your pelvis is almost right up against it. It's almost right up against it. Sometimes I draw it right up against it, but what happens right here is that, and this happened to me a lot, and I still do this from time to time, is that there's way too much space here. And so now what happens, and it happens to a lot of us, is that now you got this really long torso, and then you have shorter legs. So keep in mind that, as I explained before, this distance, if we divide this in half, then where your leg is coming out at, this is going to be about the same length as your thigh. But trying to correct this is, this is something that you'd have to, I know I'm drawing it way out over here, and it's not supposed to be. But you want to keep in mind that you don't want that huge distance. You don't want that huge distance because it just makes your figures look a little bit awkward. This one's a little bit better right here that I'm going to draw over. So I would say what you want to do is please keep in mind that there isn't that big of a difference. There isn't that big of a space between these two ovals, between what I taught you guys with the trunk or the pelvis area. There isn't that much space in between there because the space is actually created. Once you divide this in half, and like here's your rib cage right here, the space is created automatically. You see that? Let's put another color in here. This space is automatically created, so I would almost say don't put any space in between. If you're having trouble with it, if your figures are just looking a little bit too long. So I hope that helped out. This is kind of disjointed. I like this. Well, I like what the person was doing. The fact that they were trying to make hips, and they did this right here, which is great. Again, way too long of a distance in between. So please be conscious of this when you're drawing. And if you're going to make the hips that wide, then what you need to do is widen the actual bubble underneath, or the sphere underneath. And I know what they were going for here. They were trying to do the whole one leg behind, one leg in front of the other. There's this in almost every comic book, instructional something. There's this thing with the feminine form, and we want the hips to be wider, but then there's this kind of standard comic book pose that really kind of drives me nuts, and I don't even do it because I don't even really like it, where you're drawing this leg in front and then the other leg kind of goes to the back, and it's this it's meant to represent, obviously the figure being very sexy and having a very sexy pose, etc. And you're really trying to go for this. But this pose does not really help you out that much. If you look at, there are certain artists that they just do this pose over and over and over and over and over again. And every time they draw a woman, it's got to be this hourglass figure. But if you're drawing a figure that is put into that's doing some sort of action, then this becomes, this is okay for like pinup art and everything, but you want to keep in mind that, I don't know, that's I don't really teach that pose, or I don't really try to stress this. I see what you're going for, but what you did was you put some construction lines underneath, and then they just kind of all went out the window because you were trying to do that pose. I don't want to say stay away from this pose, but stay away from that pose. For now, anyway. More or less concentrate on getting, I would much rather see, if you're doing a feminine figure with very wide hips, I would much rather you keep in mind that there is always a space in between for reproductive reasons, or we would not be here. And I would just much rather see you just do the mannequin, okay? And put your cylinders right there. And the thing that is making the figures feminine, and I still did that backwards. I usually don't draw from, well, anyway. The thing that is making your figures feminine is the length or the width of the hips. So you could be able to tell that this is a feminine figure just how I just drew it. And so we got like a little whatever, little pose there, right? So you can tell right away that this is a feminine figure. So when you're drawing, when you're taking the time to make those hips wider, then just go ahead and draw over them. Don't leave so much space on the outside to make the hips even wider, because if you're doing that, then just increase this. This is showing you what your outside, what the detail artwork is going to look like. This is your foundation right here. So that's another thing to keep in mind. This figure drawing right here, I like this. The only thing that I can say with a figure is that, okay, I'm trying to draw backwards here, which is not as easy as people may think. This is all good stuff right here. Maybe the shoulder might be up a little bit more, but here is the other thing that you notice. Arm isn't really attached. See what I'm saying? The arm is this isn't attached to anything. And so that's the only thing that I see wrong with this. I would, as far as like posing and everything goes, this is cool right here. So I think that for right now, this is okay. We got a little area in here to where, let's bring the arm out a little bit more. Okay. And you notice what I'm doing is, I like this. Love this hand. Love the fist. Not the pose itself. I'm not really going to worry too much about the pose. Okay. But we need to see maybe the arm is going to come up a little bit more. That's why please put in construction lines, because it'll save you from a lot of grief. And so right here, so it looks like I have the leg coming out this way and then going back. But I do like this overall. This is good. The head is slightly, there's just a few things that are just slightly off that I really think that if you really flesh these out with the stick figure first, that will help out a great deal. So you're let me see. I think the not the pose is, when you're posing, keep in mind that this character is doing, try to figure out what the character is doing. That helps out a great deal when you have it like this character is maybe defending himself or something. And I'm trying to do the poses as close to the original as I can. And so if you start fleshing out this within the stick figures that I showed you guys in my earlier lessons, then you'll kind of see what you're doing before you get to the detail. Because the thing is this, most of you guys watching these videos, you already know how to detail. You already know how to put in lines and shading and everything else. But the problem is that the structure underneath is what's stopping you from really expressing yourself as the artist that you want to be. The vast majority of, some of you out there can't are beginning artists or beginning to draw, but a lot of you are artists that if you can see it, and copy it, then you're good. You can reproduce what you see, but you're at the point where you want to move beyond just copying what you see. And you learn a lot by copying what you see, and that's good stuff. But we want to get to the point where we can actually express ourselves without really having to look for anything, and then use reference afterwards. This is someone who was painting. So this is a slightly different to do, and I think they told me they really weren't that much of an artist before they got, or weren't really doing a lot of art stuff before they got a hold to my videos, which is very flattering. But I would like to see, for you in particular who is drawing these, I would like for you to draw more. I know the painting is super sexy and digital painting, and it's all good stuff, and we all love to do it. But I would like to see you strengthen your line work a lot more. So, um, this is good anatomy work right in here. I mean, I like this, but when you're getting to right up in here, it's starting to fall slightly apart. Because, I mean, this is good. I'm not gonna, this is definitely heading in the right direction. And as you can see, I'm drawing over this. This is pretty right on the money, but the legs are way too big for this figure. So you almost would, and I think maybe you were looking at a pose because, like, anatomically, you got some stuff going on here that's pretty accurate. Um, but even when you're drawing, even when you're studying anatomy, I would still put in those construction lines, and I would still do the mannequin. It's so very important because it's actually giving you what you need to be able to accurately put in the muscles. And so I would definitely like to see you do a lot more drawing, because, like, right here, this leg should be coming up a little bit more. And I could just tell that without looking at anything, just because I know that this is how mannequins, or this is how the human form is working. I don't know what exactly is doing here, but I'm just expanding on this. Love the shoulders. I mean, your measurements are nice, but I would just like to see a bit more. Now, see, this is what I did talking. I was about to put the arm over a little bit too far. And don't be afraid to start putting it. See, the reason why I want you to draw is don't be afraid to put in these hands and arms and all this other stuff, and the ending, the extensions, because I noticed that you're doing a lot of torso work, and I mean, and that's cool, but you want to start drawing everything, and that's why it doesn't take as long to draw as it does to paint. And down here, okay, I mean, you got the muscles of the back that are accurate, but I'm kind of like, you won't see that much of the gluteus maximus, or as I scientifically call it, the butte. You won't see as much of that. But if you go ahead and okay, granted, I'm not doing the stick figure all of the time first. That's because I kind of think more in terms of mannequin. Sometimes I do the stick figure. It all depends. But yeah, that is about all of the critiquing that I'm going to do in a nutshell. And so that is that. I hope this helped you guys out. I am going to put up the next lesson. And even though I am doing a class that is going to be paid, I'm still going to be doing videos here. And I've had you guys ask me more specific stuff, and I think I'll definitely dedicate this channel to a lot more storytelling, and I'll get into some stuff on perspective, and just kind of broaden the channel out like I've been promising to do. So yeah, I will, hopefully that helps some of you out. So just remember, when you're drawing those figures out, draw the stick figure out first. And wait a minute. Draw the stick figure out first. And that'll help you out a lot there. Because if you get the stick figure wrong, it's a lot easier to correct a stick figure than it is to correct a finished detailed drawing. And let me show you this other artist that I just think personally sucks. He sucks. Oh my God, look at this. Terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. Okay, this is mine. I knew there was something that I was missing here. And I think I got some more art stuff here. There's a few more critiques that I did not do, and I'll go over those real quick. But this is just me working on some character concepts, and I just started sketching. So you can see, like, this figure is like tilted over. The foot is wrong. It's not sitting on anything. It should be a lot more flat and sturdier on the ground. But that's okay when you're doing this stuff right here, and this is the stuff that you really don't show anybody, but I'm going to show it to you because it's kind of my thing where I am showing it to you to show you that I mean, if you can look back and look at this area right here, like I'm not doing the standard female sexy pose. You know, she's got her legs and they're in some sort of stance. The foot right here is off, but I really wasn't worried about anatomy. When you're sketching out a character, I'm trying to get some of the ideas that I had in my head down. And these are my characters. They're kind of these paladin characters that fight monsters and things like that. And so I was more worried about the code. And then I did like a little headshot to kind of give me an idea of what was going on. But as you can see, like there's still stuff that when you're sketching out that there's things that I still do that I would correct before I finalized it. Because I'm going back and I'm going to try not to correct it, but the position of the leg. But when you start getting into and you're noticing stuff like that, just keep going forward. If you're doing like some kind of sequential art, just keep going forward. You can always correct it. And by the way, I did not put in, there was no stick figure underneath this right here, which is why I ran into some problems before. But I kind of knew that the problems would be there, so I really wasn't worried. I was more worried about the costuming at this point. So, and this face right here, it's a little bit too plain, too bland. I was more or less worried about the vibe or the feel of the character and the hairstyle and stuff like that. Not making excuses, but as I said, you can see that even when I do my work and I'm not putting in and I'm not throwing in, taking my own advice and bringing in these, because right here I could see it's like, oh, I should have, reversed that, and this figure's a little bit out balanced. So, and when you correct right here, see, that didn't take me but a second, but if I had to go back in and redraw the leg, I would have to keep fixing things. So, oh, okay. And I'm sorry, I got two more critiques here to do, and then I'll be done. Once again, mannequin is there, but the proportions are off. So, feminine figure. Proportions are slightly off. And I think this pose is a little awkward. And so the shoulders actually would be back here. And right here you can see that the arm is too long right here. There's some good stuff going on in here, and I like kind of the construction. I like the fact that I see that you're doing the rib cage, but you definitely want to keep in mind that the space in here was a little bit too long, but maybe the arm should have been down a bit more. Again, you want to have, it's a feminine character, so you definitely want to have that space, a bit more dramatic of a pose right here. So, and this is like, this is what I want to stop people from doing. This is a pretty elaborate pose, and I think what was going on is that this character is supposed to be laying down in this kind of arched back pose. And I probably should turn this upside down, but I'm not going to. So here's the thing about doing these big elaborate poses. Again, if you're doing a big elaborate pose, you should not be trying to do advanced poses until you get some of the basics down. This is a pretty advanced pose, and I'm trying to draw over to see what you were going for. And for my artist friend here in particular, what I really want you to concentrate on specifically are your ratios. You're drawing your torso, chest areas way too big, and I want you to start putting the pelvis area right up against it. Just leave just a tiny little bit of space in between. Keep in mind that the top of your leg, the top of the thigh, the bottom of the leg, they're about the same distance. And not only that, but this should be about equal. Your whole top portion, that whole 8 heads high thing, well, think of this as 4 and 4. And so this should be equal, 4 should be equal to this 4. And this area where the knees are kind of sitting on top, I think I drew the legs a little bit long, but see, once you do that, you know that you can just go ahead and adjust. And it doesn't take anything to adjust that. And when you're drawing your shoulders, remember the hand is going down almost to the thigh. And the bend of the arm is going to be almost right where the belly button is. And so that's what I want you to keep in mind. You have to keep in mind that little ratio, because if you start drawing like this and you're kind of messy with that, then your figure is going to fall apart. And don't worry about the elaborate poses. Just do some walking poses. Just do a running pose. Just work on that kind of stuff until you get the hang of your proportions, because it's the proportions that are when you're trying to do these elaborate poses, just don't do the elaborate stuff. Just go ahead and just work with those simple shapes and simple forms until you get that stuff right. Then you'll be able to pose everything elaborately. So start with simple stuff first. So I hope you guys, I hope that helped a lot of you out there that were watching this. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Oh, and thank you to everybody who retweeted and and if you guys can want to share that other video, my friend's son is still missing. So if you can like post that video to Reddit or something to help him out. So yeah, as a father, that kind of stuff just kills me to hear about. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.